very good evening. You're most welcome to the Smart 24 television, and this is the business edition. My name is Pedison Mumbere. A couple of you must have watched the Ugandan National Environment Authority embarking on evicting people from the wetlands. And remember, the president has been saying that we are going to do irrigation, and we can't do irrigation when the wetlands are being encroached on. But more of these stories are coming on your way. Let me just come back in just a bit. Let's get to the Committee of Kwasase again, as the Committee of Kwasase continues to probe the profitability of Uganda Airlines. Here, the current CEO, Jennifer Bamturaki, was told again to appear before the committee and answer some of the queries, but she never appeared. However, the former CEO, Cornwell Muleya, showed up and revealed shocking evidence against the current CEO, Jennifer Bamturaki. Let's have more of these stories. Yesterday, Parliament's Committee on State Authorities and State Enterprises, Kwasase, summoned the CEO of Uganda Airlines, Jennifer Bamturaki, together with her management team to appear without fail. However, those summons were not compiled to, and the chairperson, Joel Senyonyi, says they are to involve the Speaker of Parliament on that particular matter.
Invoicing at the time was for an amount of $232,000. Where an invoice was raised and approved for $404,000 when the actual costs were $172,000. So this could not be adequately explained as to why it was being pushed for payment, and therefore this was one of the big issues that we had.
Okay, let's go slow so that I get you exactly.
Yeah.
How much was the invoice meant to be?
$404,000.
$404,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Actual cost were $172,000.
The actual was?
$172,000.
$172,000.
Yeah, so the difference between the two was the over-invoicing.
Did you seek to recover this money? Because it's a lot of money we are talking about. Just been doing calculations here. The amount of money that should have been paid was 648 million Uganda shillings. I've done some conversions. But what was eventually paid was 1.5 billion. So the excess was 874 million.
No, there was an attempt to get this paid, but we didn't pay it because we caught it.
Also, there was an attempt which you arrested.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The meeting has, however, taken place with the former CEO, Cornwell Muleya, who has revealed compromising evidence against the current CEO, Jennifer Bamturaki. The confident Muleya told the committee that the manner in which he was suspended from work was improper, and his efforts to meet the disciplinary committee to explain himself were suppressed by the people who were fighting him for exposing their fraud.
Which I had to answer to see, but if the people had been identified, I wondered why they had not been brought to book. In the notice of the disciplinary hearing, they wrote that I would be accorded a chance to meet with the disciplinary committee and give my side of the story, which up to this day that hearing never came. I was never called for that. But nevertheless, Honorable Chair, I did respond to everything that was put to me, including those ones that were for my colleagues during the period when I didn't have the accounting officer responsibility, of which that was a major part.
Muleya further tells the committee that while he was still CEO, he noticed that Ms. Bamturaki was involved in the advertising company Abavata, which she still hired to do business for the airline, and was still giving inflated payment to the Abavata, and over shillings 874 million was going to go to that particular company if it wasn't for his vigilancy.
Invoicing at the time was for an amount of $232,000. Where an invoice was raised and approved for $404,000 when the actual costs were $172,000. So this could not be adequately explained as to why it was being pushed for payment, and therefore this was one of the big issues that we had.
Okay, let's go slow so that I get you exactly.
Yeah.
How much was the invoice meant to be?
404,000 US dollars.
404,000 US dollars.
Yes.
Okay.
Actual cost were 172,000.
The actual was?
172,000.
172,000.
Yeah, so the difference between the two was the over-invoicing.
Did you seek to recover this money? Because it's a lot of money we are talking about. Just been doing calculations here. The amount of money that should have been paid was 648 million Uganda shillings. I've done some conversions. But what was eventually paid was 1.5 billion. So the excess was 874 million.
No, there was an attempt to get this paid, but we didn't pay it because we caught it.
Also, there was an attempt which you arrested.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The committee also asked Muleya on the continued losses the airline kept making since its launch, and he told them that the company is still in its infancy stage and has 9 routes out of 20, and he hoped by now the airline would be making international flights, but it's only Dubai which cannot bring in more money. Muleya explained that by the time he was suspended, Emirates had agreed to collaborate with the Uganda Airlines.
Mr. Chair, there are losses and very huge losses in every financial year. In 2019-2020, according to auditor's report, it is 102 billion in terms of losses. 2020-2021, it is 164 billion. I understand that you partly shared this financial year, 2020-2021.
Here is the structures and systems to support the entire growth strategy of the airline. You cannot make profit if you've only opened 9 routes out of 20, because your aircraft are underutilized. So, if your aircraft are flying 5 hours a day and they are meant to fly 9 hours, 10 hours a day, it means you will not be able to break even because you are not making your investment pay. So the question we should be asking is, why haven't we opened all the other routes which would bring in the passengers to allow you to attain critical mass? That's the first point. Secondly, on the larger aircraft, it was always foreseen that you needed strong partnerships and you needed to open the routes where these aircraft can go, because if they remain on the ground, they still cost you. So we need to still open Guangzhou. We need to still open the route to London. We need to still open the route to Mumbai. We still need to go to the West Africa region where this aircraft can perform.
The emotional Muleya also explained to the committee why he was getting salary of 118 million, which he says was justifiable for the work he did for the airline. He says he was brought to Uganda to start the company from scratch, but it pains him to see that he is still in court against the same company he started.
When I came in, there was nothing like Uganda Airlines here. That's what I was explaining. There was no plan, no paper, no desk, nothing. I had to build the plan. I had to build everything, negotiate. Honorable members, this is not a small task. It is not. I was going into meetings reading a 300-page agreement on aircraft purchases. On my own, we get to the meeting, nobody has read it.
The committee is to meet the Minister of Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, together with the officials from the Minister of Finance, to hear their side on Uganda Airlines saga. See, Colonel Muleya, this is the former CEO of Uganda Airlines, revealed the shocking evidences here. I don't know how the president or more of the stakeholders, I don't know what they are going to do over this, but what I know, it's about streamlining the Uganda Airlines and making sure that we don't make a lot of losses over there. But I think This is what everybody wants, and it will come to an end. Let's hope so. Let's get to another story here where NEMA, the Uganda Environment Authority, Uganda National Environment Authority, has an impact on evicting people from Lubigi wetlands. The president has been saying that we need to engage the irrigation, but we can't do irrigation when wetlands are being encroached on. And I'm seeing here the joint cooperation are still working on, where the Minister of Water, Transport, restore Lubigi wetlands, and this follows the numerous calls for encroachers to evict and see what we can do, because we need all these wetlands around to impact on our good agriculture. Let's have more of this story from Rona Nahabwe.
This exercise is in response to the presidential directive on the restoration of all wetlands and barring members of the public to stop misusing them in a bid to protect the ecosystem. The Lubigi wetland has been subjected to encroachment in several ways: cultivation, settlement of both permanent and temporary houses, which were restricting its functions, including flood control and habitat of species, among others.
This wetland is also important because, one, it drains much of north and west, northwestern and this side of Kampala, and also parts of Wakiso district. It is the main collection point of flood waters whenever it rains in and around Kampala. So if this is not protected, then the risk of flooding is very high. And number two, it is also a source of water for the water-stressed Kata corridor in central Uganda, mainly around the areas of Nakaseke and the surrounding areas. They get all their water from here. So if there are activities here that compromise the health and the ability of this wetland to provide its ecosystem services, then that means the impact will not only be felt here, but also in much of central Uganda and many parts around the Lake Victoria basin. So this wetland is very important.
The eviction has affected several businesses, including those waiting for their business license approval to operate, and smaller businesses.
We did nothing wrong. We just woke up one morning and we were evicted.
The Public Relations Officer of National Environment Management Authority says there are conditions attached to the usage of such natural resources.
Look at it holistically and not just looking at it from the business perspective. The threat posed by these businesses will affect the entire populace, not just the business owner. If anything, the business owner is limiting the benefits that other people ought to enjoy from this resource. So because we are mandated to protect these resources for the people of Uganda, for mutual benefits for the whole country, we have what we call sustainable development. Yes, there are ways in which you can use such resources. You can apply for, you can apply and then you'll be given a resource use permit, and then depending on the activity you want to do, you'll either be required to submit a project brief or undertake environment and social impact assessment. So these are different levels of approval, and once those are done, all these come with conditions where we stipulate clearly how you ought to use the resource. All approvals come with conditions, so it is not a blank check that you can go and use the resource however you want. There are always conditions attached to it.
Low-income earners in this area already struggling to make ends meet have been the most affected by this exercise.
Yeah, I think when the government continues to evict people from the wetlands, our environment will be fine and the farming will be streamlined to a certain level. Let's speak boosting trade over here, where over 19 African countries are participating in the 3rd annual regional trade fair. And most of the women businesses in Uganda have taken chance of this, have taken advantage of this. And I'm seeing they're trying to boost their businesses, not only in Uganda, but also other African countries, and even to the international level. Let's have more of this story from our reporter here.
The
The third annual trade fair is focusing on women incubators while equipping the women with knowledge on how they can access funds from various institutions. This year's trade fair seeks to embrace the rich pool of diverse natural resources, commodity products, labor and skills found in member states and introduce product to Africa and the world to see.
To make sure that a woman can access finance, whether she has security or not, she can be guaranteed by other women, she can use group funding. So in this area, we are also lobbying government, starting from Bank of Uganda through Ministry of Finance, to look into their policy frameworks. After COVID, many women businesses failed, but now we are lobbying for policy reforms so that at least on the task forces we have 40% representation of women.
We have 21 member states in the COMESA region, and this is the third annual COMFWIB Regional Trade Fair. We are here in Kampala, Uganda. We brought women from 19 out of the 21 member states, and they have brought their products to display. And the main objective of this organization and of this trade fair is for African women in business to come and share experiences, have the knowledge of Uganda and get to meet the Ugandan people, but at the same time be able to see what products and other things there are to be able to import, export across the borders and meet other businesswomen and see what secrets they can share with each other about their businesses. This day is very important because as we come, the African Continental Free Trade Area has also been tested because we want to see our borders working in Africa.
The State Minister of Trade, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, was pleased with the initiative taken by women to boost businesses and urged financial institutions to revise the interest rates on loans.
The UWIL, Uganda Entrepreneurs Association, has brought together all the women under the Federation of the Women in Business, led by COMESA, which has really showcased what we have as women. And we as Minister of Trade, we are so excited because this is what we have always preached, that once a woman is out, then the country will move to another level. And I want to tell you that 21 countries in Africa have come together now to talk one language, the business language, to move that woman who thought that by being a woman, there is a problem. Now a woman can do something challenging even more than those of men. So we have women manufacturers, we have women traders owning big businesses. We are even coming to the toppest level.
Participants from different countries shared expectations from the regional trade fair.
It was a very inspirational statement was made by Honorable Minister of Trade. We are inspired to work with the government and with the citizens of Uganda, bringing the products and services that offers by Uganda, not just only here in Uganda, but to the region to supply, using Sokuku.Africa.
We hope the women can access the other border countries and do more business instead of just keeping to the individual countries. Like the minister rightly said, the women must have an economic voice, and that voice must be trading across borders. So from what we are exhibiting here and what we are having as meetings, we're hoping that that will be an integration of the women in business in the African region, starting with the COMESA region.
The goal is to continue to be in line with Agenda 2063 goal, and the activities for this year will draw attention to the African Union Agenda 2063 Goal 4, which is transformed economies with a focus on economic diversification and resilience.
These are Ugandan women. They are trying hard to make sure that they boost their business, not only locally here, but also to the international level, and they make sure that they go to even other African countries, that's South Africa, Djibouti, and many more others. And that's when they can have their business level to a certain height. Let's get to another story here where President Museveni has said that to ensure prosperity, Africa must become one market under the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Museveni notes that some Ugandans have started engaging in high commercial agriculture, and there is excess production which cannot be accessed here in Uganda. Let's have more of this story.
While delivering a lecture on the opportunity to cadet officers of the 2019 to 2022 intake at Kabamba Military Academy, President Museveni noted that to ensure prosperity, Africa must become one market under the spirit of Pan-Africanism. His Excellency General Museveni noted that some Ugandans have started engaging in commercial agriculture, which has led to excess production that cannot be consumed by the local market alone.
Now we have got excess milk, we have got excess sugar, excess maize, excess cement, excess soap, excess mitayimbwa, the factories have come up, excess tires. Even patriotism is no longer enough. So we add the second principle, Pan-Africanism. Banange. Muliwano, Musovedwa, you don't know what to do. But there is East Africa. Why don't you go and reach understanding with Kenya, with Tanzania, with Rwanda, with Burundi, with South Sudan, with Congo, and we become, we put together our markets so that they become one market.
According to the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, Uganda's fertile agricultural land has the potential to feed over 200 million people. In the financial year 2021 to 2022, agriculture accounted for about 24.1% of the GDP and 33% of the export earnings. Therefore, President Museveni emphasized the need for irrigation, which can only work if people stop encroaching on the wetlands.
Now get only one season because the climate has, the rain is not reliable. So we are going to shift from rain-fed agriculture to irrigated agriculture. And in order to do that, we need the swamps with water, so that we shall have this business of saying there is war in Ukraine and Africans are dying from hunger is a big shame. As if there are no human beings here who have arms to create. So we are not going to be part of this. We are going to irrigate and produce all the year round. There will be so much production that we will have to get big external markets.
During the Green Economy East African launch, the Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, Ruth Nankabira, said that the cabinet has resolved to evict those on the wetlands.
Recently, there was a big debate in cabinet, and the president directed that all those who are in wetlands this time round, this is the time that God chose that we implement our laws. Because we are not supposed to be in wetlands. We have demarcated places. You are lucky that I've told you. If I have told you anybody else.
Very lenient with the environment, and we believe green is something that is very healthy for each and every human being. That's why you see a bit of green on our apartments. We give, even after we've handed over, we give plants to our clients so that they have a bit of green. And also make sure we have trees around our projects. We have also swimming pools for the health bit of it, a gym to exercise. So we want our clients to have amenities that support their well-being, including also having green plants around them.
At the end of the day, when the government releases the funding or the opportunities, the Ugandan out there must know what opportunities are available in the green economy, what the green economy is. So it's very important that it's both ways. The private sector and the government sector need to work together collaboratively to enable us to achieve such sustainable development.
The green growth transition will deliver, according to the National Planning Authority, an additional 4 million jobs in agriculture, waste management and recycling, among others.
That's the president of Uganda emphasizing Pan-Africanism and integrated market. I'm very sure Uganda is producing a lot which cannot be accessed by only us. So we need other markets, let's say other African countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But that cannot be done when there's no Pan-Africanism. I think that's what the president is emphasizing. Let's get to another story here. We are speaking the launch of the Milk Can Revolving Fund and adding value to the dairy value here. We're saying Haifa International Uganda with support from Agricultural Business Initiative, that's ABI, with other development partners are implementing a 3-year dairy value chain. And the project will improve income of 350 farmers through improved productivity and quality of milk among dairy farmers living in Kampala. I did this story and let's have more of the details.
At the launch of the Milk Can Revolving Fund ceremony to dairy farmer cooperatives, officials from Haifa International and other development partners says that with the increasing climate change, there is a need to adopt production enhancement and quality management practices to maximize revenue in dairy.
We have been facing challenges of drought, and this has an effect on the production of milk. Currently we are 2.8 billion liters, but we have our target to go to 5 billion liters in 4 years' time. And one of the production issue that we have been trying to address is to make sure that the farmers can now go into pasture conservation, but also plant pastures and store forage during the plenty, and can feed the cows during the drought.
Haifa International, with support from Agricultural Business Initiative ABI, in partnership with other development partners, are implementing 3 years dairy value chain. This project is aiming at increasing dairy productivity, access to services and market for 35,000 smallholder farmers in 7 districts, which include Mityana, Nakasongola, Chiboga, among others.
To do with our milk quality have been quite key. At one time, they were actually pointed out as the reason why Kenya had actually banned our milk from going there. But clean milk production starts from the farm, and if you don't have the right vessels, the right equipment, then you will fail from the word from go.
We still have a challenge of the non-tariff barriers, especially on dairy exports, with our neighbors in Kenya and other neighboring countries. This has a negative effect, especially when we are expanding our markets, because as we know, all the milk we produce here locally, we can't consume and finish it. So we need to really work out a solution to have a harmonized way of accessing these export markets.
The Dairy Development Authority representative, Akankiza Samson Mpira, handed over 500 aluminium milk cans of 50-litre, equivalent to 210 million, to the dairy farmers as a way of enhancing milk quality and production in Uganda.
So the idea here is that we want to make our farmers very competitive, especially with the growing climate change. That's why we want them to access these equipment. But also for milk specifically, we want to ensure that we improve the quality of milk so that they are able to fetch the premium prices.
The project will also strengthen farmers' point of sales and link them to dairy processors and financial service providers, and will be implemented through facilitation approach.
Haifa International Uganda and other development partners trying to add value to our milk production here, and we hit the international market. We cannot be having milk sold here and we stay. It's not fair. We need to look for other international markets, but adding value to that very milk, it's what will put us there. Let's get to another story here, where the civil society organization in Uganda are calling for public debt transparency and accountability in the country here. You see, the public debt, it's a huge part of the country's revenue. And if you see the data here from the Ministry of Finance, they're saying that the government's continued intervention to reduce public debt, it's on. However, from June 2020 to June 2021, our public debt increased from 15.34 billion equivalent to US dollars 57,021 billion to 19.54 billion equivalent to 69,512 billion. And this is what the civil society organizations are talking about. But if we get our debt stock at least down, then we can have our revenue collection at a certain level. Let's have more of this story from Rona Nahawe.
With public debt levels rising in Uganda and the changing debt composition, there has been a shift away from the concessional debt towards market-based sources of financing such as planned and non-concessional. This has made public debt more vulnerable to interest rate fluctuations and rollover risk over the medium term, especially investment into huge infrastructure projects. In the light of the above, civil society organizations, including Siatini Uganda, Transparency International Uganda, and the Uganda Debt Network, have shared views and proposals regarding the transparency and the accountability of public debt in Uganda.
It's true when we speak about debt, it does not stop on only loans and so on. But we even look at debts that government owns domestically. And this is what we are saying, that so long as there's opaqueness in information, so long as we don't know what loans are performing, we don't know the amount of loans that are being, that are out there, whether domestic or external, it will create a problem for mismanagement of those loans. It will create a problem that some of them won't be performing. Then it will also create a problem that a lot of money shall be tied in debt without the public knowing, and that's open to mismanagement, as you say. So that's why we're calling for more transparency, so that we know what is happening out there, what loans are there, how are they performing, etc. and etc. That's why we're even calling for a debt register. We're calling for government to publish a debt register to show what loans are out there, how are they performing, what are the conditions, what is being done about them, and so on and so forth.
The preferences of external or domestic borrowing are no hindrance as long as they remove the government from debt. However, they are very effective to the private sector.
We definitely don't want to, we want to see to it that we actually exit the debt area in regards to how government is looking at borrowing as a channel to financing development priorities. But when you put it between domestic and external, is that even for domestic, we have really surpassed the threshold between 20%, which ideally is what we should be ensuring, government is supposed to be ensuring that they are within that threshold of borrowing. But you get to realize, because of the focus of external borrowing, we get to forget the bigger picture, that domestic borrowing actually does have an impact on borrowing in general. So when it comes to domestic borrowing, when government decides to borrow domestically, that's how we get to realize that we're actually having the private sector being crowded out from even being able to do business, because most of the times, while we may want them to be able to be fully in position to actually compete or bid for certain projects, they actually get to be fully capitalized on, and actually this reduces their financing.
In addition, Parliament should ensure the value for money for the loans borrowed to avoid leakages and wasteful expenditure.
Not ready for the money. Why do you take it? And one of the reasons for taking this money, we suspect or have even information that there are ulterior motives. One of the motives was that there are sometimes lenders who insist and say, take this loan, or else they give you conditionalities. If you don't take this loan, then we shall not give you another loan. I remember it's on record that Matia Kasaija, for example, the Minister of Finance, indicated that at one time, World Bank insisted they take up a loan of, is it gender? That unless you take that loan, then we shall not approve the other. Then the other issue is, to what extent are these people who are imposing a loan on you genuine? So we feel that that element needs to come out, and the transparency issue. You asked who should be responsible if, I think it was him, who said, how come they are doing it and they get on with it? That's why we are recommending this time somebody who slept on the job without reading through. How can you tell me that we are delaying because the proposal is not written well? If it wasn't written well, then where were you? Why did you fast track the passage of the loan when actually you were not yet adequately prepared in terms of documentation?
Among the implementations suggested by CSOs for government includes minimizing confidentiality clauses and publishing contracts as they preserve not only market-sensitive information but also prevent the publication of key terms and contents of loans.
Going in for debts, it's very important, but it depends on how you use them. Are you using the money for loaning for other productive things? Is it adding? I think that's what the civil society organizations are talking about. Let's get to another story here where we're going to discuss the Northern Uganda's infrastructure problem. Here we are saying the state minister in charge of Northern Uganda, Grace Kiwichunyi, has urged locals from the West Nile district of Madiokolo to up the opportunities under the parish development model. Kiwichunyi was participating on a groundbreaking event for business infrastructures facilitation in Madiokolo district funded by the World Bank. This is a story that I did. I traveled to Madiokolo district and there are some reports that I got from there. Let's have more of this.
Madiokolo is part of the hard-to-reach areas in West Nile, now benefiting from the modern markets and resource centers, easing the burden of locals and refugee communities. While participating in the ground event for business infrastructure facilities in Madiokolo district funded by the World Bank, Grace Kiwichunyi, the state minister in charge of Northern Uganda, urged the locals to embrace parish development model to fight poverty in the region.
That people are exposing to us, for me this is good. My office is coming back with Nusa 4 fighting poverty. Because when the government has done this is infrastructure. It may not get you out of poverty. But the parish development model is designed to get us out of poverty. Nusa 4 is also designed to get us out of poverty. Because it is going to give you resources. It is going to strengthen you in your farming, in your business, in whatever you are doing, so that you get more income.
The parish development model is meant to boost economic growth as well. According to the data from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the size of the economy in financial year 2020 to 2021 in real terms, the economy registered a growth rate of 3.3%, which signals a steady economic recovery from the 3.0% in financial year 2019 to 2020. The state minister in charge of the Northern Uganda with other leaders spoke during the groundbreaking of various projects in Madiokolo district funded by the World Bank through the Uganda support to municipal infrastructure development.
About not being patriotic, but it was a national procurement. Out of all the contractors, we have 8. I think we have quite a few of them who qualified to be from the region. But that does not stop any other Ugandan from getting the projects. Now that they have got the projects, from my visits, I made it known to them that the benefits of these projects should go to the local community.
That way, let's all be winners. You win, I win, government wins, everybody wins, and the people of Madi win. Then they can give you more contracts. Yes, and more is coming. This time we're going to assess it depending on the quality of work you have done. Very seriously. Not these people they call procurement officer who lock themselves. Then this one is qualified. No. This time we shall say, how has he qualified? This was sometimes they qualified. I'm not saying it is you. Sometimes they qualify because of 10%.
Contractors undertaking the various civil works, despite the noted delays in the progress of the construction, are being cautioned against corrupting local government officials and shadow works. There is a need to ensure increased economic activities in agricultural production and value addition if the new infrastructure is to be impactful. Among the districts benefiting from the financing for infrastructures such as markets, resource centers, and other related youth facilities include Terego, Yumbe, Adjumani, Obongi, Moyo, and many more other districts.
Indeed, I traveled to West Nile in the districts of Obongi, Madiokolo, Adjumani. Indeed, those people need to up their game and embrace the parish development model, and it's one way on how they're going to make development over there. But still, the way the government is going to handle the issues of parish development model is also very important. Let's get to another story here, where the Uganda hotel owners have called upon Uganda Revenue Authority to revise the taxes that are imposed on them. However, the former Minister for Trade and Cooperatives, Honorable Amelia Chambade, says that they are hitting the wrong person. They have to hit the lawmakers because Uganda Revenue Authority stops at implementing, not setting the laws and the taxes. Let's have more of this very story from Fred Makumya.
Many hotels were hit hard.
After the reopening of the economy, the sector players thought they would recover very fast and get back to normal business, but to their surprise, the heavy taxation levied onto them has crippled the business, and yet they play a very fundamental role in the country's growth and development. Susan Muhwez, the chairperson of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, have now engaged URA to find a way forward on the exorbitant taxes.
Withholding tax agents, and so like we were engaging today, here you are struggling to get back on your feet after the pandemic. Here you are struggling with loans in the bank. Here you are struggling with the 25 taxes and licenses. And on top of that, now comes these systems, as you heard. Every system to system, withholding tax, the appointment of withholding tax agents. So we thought it's important to engage with the Commissioner General, and because we know that he's an implementer, but also he's an advisor to the government.
Hotel key players also complained of the negative laws that do exist within government officials that affect their key players.
People in this organization of whether finance or URA that use bad law to terrorize taxpayers.
John Musingu Zirujoki, the Commissioner General of Uganda Revenue Authority, as a mechanism of addressing the need of Uganda Hotel Owners Association, is embarking on the different approaches of engagement.
Stakeholder engagement like this one, where we have hours of honest discussion on what we can do better to support each other. We are going to embrace technology, improve ourselves. The URA team will improve its team, the skills.
Amelia Chambade, the former Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, has appealed to the different stakeholders to form a consortium with all the parties to be involved and agree on the critical matters that address the challenges faced by the hotel industry in Uganda.
Commissioner General can't do much really, because this is the role of the legislators. A consortium where we have legislators as part of us, maybe cabinet, people who make laws and defend them. Commissioner General, his terms are very clear. Collect revenue at any cost.
The Uganda Hotel Owners Association and the hospitality industry contributes about 450,000 jobs to the job market. Some of these jobs are both direct and indirect.
I think it is true. What the minister is saying is very, very true, because Uganda Revenue Authority, it only stops at implementing what is being discussed from the parliament. So I think the hotel owners should go to parliament and present their issues there. But Rijochi, for him, is just implementing what comes from the parliament, and that's it. Let's get to another story here where the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has received credentials from 6 new African and foreign countries here. They are the people who call ambassadors that are coming to work here. But all along, the new bilateral relationship may involve in-depth exchanging views for strengthening the economic development and trade cooperations. And we're very sure when these people come here, they will engage with the President of Uganda and create relationship between Uganda and their countries to boost trade. Let's have more of this story that I did.
The president received the credentials from ambassadors, that's Muhammad Hassan of Pakistan, Ahmed Ibrahim Ahmed of Sudan, retired General George Agri from Kenya, Ismail Ayubami Alitis of Nigeria, and the new High Commissioner of the Republic of Ghana to Uganda, His Excellency Dempte Badiok Asari.
Your Excellency, I just to inform you that our government has decided to open few missions in Africa in order to extend our bilateral cooperation in all fields. So under that policy, we have just opened 5 new missions in Africa, in Djibouti, Uganda, Rwanda, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. This is the first phase, and hopefully we will engage the rest of the countries in future as well.
Speaking at the ceremony, President Museveni welcomed the new envoys and assured them of strengthening bilateral relations.
How do you like Uganda?
I like Uganda very well. I was privileged to visit Uganda in 20. It was good.
But you should always eat it with ground nuts. Aflatoxin comes from, it's a poison.
Oh. That is the Yoruba, and then we have the nuts generally.
Museveni later met with the new High Commissioner of the Republic of Ghana to Uganda, His Excellency Dempte Badiok Aseri, with whom they discussed the rich cultural diversity and historical ties between the two countries.
When are the elections in Ghana again?
It will be December 2024.
Okay.
The Equapims and then the Akans.
Okay.
Yes.
It was Kumasi.
Kumasi was the former. The eastern region, they are also called Akans. They are part of the bigger Akan tradition.
That they were feeding the ancestral spirits.
Yes, Your Excellency, I think that is a common tradition among a larger part of Ghana. The pouring, what we call pouring libation, and sometimes yes, please.
Okay. So
they are also part of the Akans. But the Volta region borders with the Republic of Togo.
So would it
be the eastern part of the country?
In a meeting with the new ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to Uganda, His Excellency Nguyen Nam Thien, President Museveni welcomed him to Uganda, noting that Uganda and Vietnam enjoy long-term relations, citing Uganda-Vietnam Solidarity Committee of the 1960s, where he was a member.
When General Saab having answered that, you agree with me. When General can
Magodi Kuya, our Minister of State for
East African
he was the secretary.
Okay.
I was a member of that group.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that.
And from the embassy of Vietnam.
Yes.
In Dar es Salaam.
Yes.
I was getting a ring. October or November.
Ambassador Nguyen assured the president of his country's commitment to further strengthen the long-standing relationship between the two countries.
those have been the stories that made the headlines over the days of the week, and very many more stories will be coming in your way. Very many issues are happening in this country. Here we've seen the Minister for Works, General Katumbo Wamala, saying that he follows the orders of the President to appoint Bamturachi as the CEO of Uganda Airlines. Whether she went to school or not, it's none of his concern. But I want to thank you so much for sticking on the Smart 24 television, especially on this very show, the Business Edition. My name is Pedison Mumbere, and I'll be getting you in another week. It's a bye-bye for now.
Smart 24, driving business.
Where there is any dispute between the employer and the employee as regards the terms and conditions of employment, the written particulars of contract shall serve evidence as per Section 6(0) of Employment Act. It is therefore of more value a contract of employment to be reduced in writing than orally made, because in this way disputes can be averted more easily and evidence will be easier to obtain in the event of disputes.